You know, we hear the term ADHD thrown around all the time, but it usually gets boiled down to just, oh, they're distracted. In this explainer, we're going to go way beyond the cliches to really get into what it feels like inside an ADHD brain, and we'll do that by looking at what's actually happening on a neurological level. So let me ask you this. Ever get that feeling that your brain is just wired differently than everyone else's? For a lot of people, that's not just some passing thought. It's their day-to-day reality. And really getting that difference is the first step to understanding what ADHD is all about.
Okay, so one of the biggest challenges for someone with ADHD isn't just about paying attention. No, it's about shifting that attention. It's this deep struggle to switch gears from one thing to another, and that goes so much deeper than just being easily distracted.
And yeah, there's actually a term for this. It's called set shifting. It's basically your brain's ability to smoothly and efficiently stop doing one thing and start doing something else. For a lot of people, this is pretty much automatic. You don't even think about it. But for the ADHD brain, well, that's a whole other story.
Here's a great way to picture it. For a neurotypical brain, switching tasks is natural. It's fluid. But for someone with ADHD, pulling yourself away from a task you're really into to do something else, it feels like trying to restart a cold engine. Every single time. It's clunky, it takes a massive amount of mental energy, and it just does not want to turn over. And that actually brings us to a huge misconception about ADHD. This idea that people with it just can't focus, period. The reality is, well, it's a lot more complicated and honestly, kind of paradoxical. See, this is the crucial part. It's not a lack of focus, it's a problem of stimulation. The ADHD brain is basically a stimulation-seeking machine. To stay on track, it needs something that really grabs it, something that commands its attention.
This really shows you the two extremes, right? Give an ADHD brain a boring, tedious task, and poof, its attention is gone in a flash. But give it something that's deeply engaging, and it can snap into this state of hyperfocus, concentrating for hours and hours without even looking up. It's why someone might get lost in a video game for an entire day, but find it almost physically painful to do a simple chore like putting their clothes away.
So, what's behind all this? What's driving that intense need for stimulation? Why does one task feel completely impossible while another one is totally all-consuming? Well, the answer has nothing to do with willpower. It's all about brain chemistry.
To be specific, it all comes down to the brain's reward circuit. This is the system that motivates all of us to do things, and it runs on a very, very important chemical.
And that chemical is dopamine. You can think of it like brain fuel. The thing is, people with ADHD often have lower levels of available dopamine. So when they're faced with a task that's not very interesting, their brain just doesn't get that chemical reward. It needs to stay engaged. Without that stimulation, without that fuel, that engine just isn't going to run. And look, this internal wiring, this isn't just about work or school stuff. It has a massive, and I mean massive, impact on personal relationships, and it often leads to some really profound misunderstandings. I mean, this is such a classic scenario. Picture a shoe just sitting in the middle of the hallway. To a non-ADHD partner, watching their loved one just step right over it can be so frustrating. It feels personal, right?
And the question that pops into their head is almost immediate. Do they not care about our home? Is this just a total lack of respect for me? And you can totally see how that interpretation would cause a lot of pain and conflict.
But here's the neurological truth of it all. It's not that the person didn't care. It's that, for the ADHD brain, which is constantly filtering the world for high-priority, stimulating information, that shoe literally wasn't on the radar. It was never even processed as something to act on. It might as well have been invisible.
So this is the key. This kind of thing gets seen as carelessness or being aloof or disrespectful, when it's not a character flaw at all. It is a fundamental neurological difference in how the world gets processed. And just understanding that, man, that can be a total game changer for a relationship. Okay, so how do we wrap our heads around all this? It really means we have to completely reframe the way we think about the ADHD brain.
So if any of this has sounded familiar to you, here is the absolute most important takeaway. Your brain isn't broken. It's not deficient. It just operates on a different reward system. It's a system that thrives on stimulation, on interest, on engagement, not just on what society has decided is important. Which really just leaves us with this final thought to chew on. What if we shifted our whole perspective? What if we stopped seeing ADHD as a deficit, as something that's lacking, and instead we started seeing it as just a different operating system? A different, and in many ways, incredibly powerful way for a human brain to work.